Welcome back to another episode on Journey to Authenticity, a podcast helping you to become fully authentic on your journey to success. I'm your host, Braiden Belnap, and I'm a human just like you, striving to build a dream life, all while I stay true to myself. But what if you're in a position of emotions getting in your way, even really deep, dark thoughts, emotions, to the point that you're wanting to really build a big life through authentic content, authentic business, so that you can build your dream life and ultimately fulfill your life's purpose, but you're trapped by those thoughts, trapped by the emotions where you're not moving forward. You're not sure where to start on business, not sure where to start on content. That's exactly why I have Casey Wright joining us today, because he's done just that. He overcame massive anxiety, depression, to the point that he had to completely transform his life's purpose and find that. And now he's working with some of the top entrepreneurs of our time in Utah to be able to help them build their authentic content, their authentic business. And he's here to help you do the same. That in mind, welcome to the show, Casey.
I appreciate you having me in. It's a cool freaking setup. I'm going to try to get one of these at my house, but...
Dude, we're going to get you started on. I'll help out in any way I can, man.
Sweet. I'm down.
You're talented, man. I'm so excited to have you on here.
Dude, it's just you and my mom that think that, so I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So just to jump right in, what initially inspired content creation, voiceovers, acting for you?
So content creation actually started because I wanted to figure out a way to get onto film sets. So I've had like a bunch of dreams in my life. One of them was to be a chef. Another one was to be a lifelike pilot. And then the other one was to be an actor. Oh, and a baseball player. So I've had a bunch of dreams. None of them have really come true. I cook for fun. But, and baseball broke my collarbone on my senior year. So then that was out too. So then I started getting really depressed out of high school because I thought I was going to go to college. I lived, ate, and slept freaking baseball. And right after high school, and I knew I wasn't going to go to college for it, I started getting depressed. I got a job just because I wanted to make money. It was in construction, which is like the most terrible job you can get as a ginger guy because you're out in the sun all day. And I hate putting on sunscreen. It's the worst thing ever. But I started getting depressed, and I was like kind of going back in my life and just kind of remembering what I enjoyed doing. And acting was one of those things. Because if it wasn't for baseball, I would be in theater. But theater happened after school, which is when baseball would always happen too. So I couldn't do it. And so I picked up a camera to help get onto film sets, to help network with like filmmakers, to help get into acting even more. And I had already started taking like acting classes outside of high school, just because I loved doing it after baseball ended for me. So I picked up a camera to hopefully get onto film sets, to do behind the scenes photography or videography or something for the production. Because I know those kind of guys, they love watching themselves work and they love posting about the jobs that they're on. So that's how I picked up a camera. But I bought it off Amazon. It was like a Canon 80D, and I freaking loved that thing. And then I just fell in love with content. It's weird because it went from wanting to get onto film sets to shifting into a completely different, like, how do you say it? Like a whole different like scope of content creation. Sure. So it was off of film sets, and I started working for like e-commerce companies a lot of the time. So it kind of transitioned out of acting for a minute into that while still pursuing acting.
Still acting, right? Because it's a different focus.
Well, I'm trying to. I audition all the time, and freaking I do the voiceovers on my social media. I try to be as active in acting as much as I can because it's such a cutthroat industry, and people base you off your looks. Is the first thing that people always look at is just the way that you look, which kind of sucks because I'd rather them like get to know me and talk to me first, and then get friends with me, and then just kind of book me on their stuff. But that'll happen over time, I guess. But
that's fair.
Yeah, I try to stay as active as I can.
Yeah, because the one thing that comes to mind is that mushroom company you and Alex were rocking.
Yeah,
those were hilarious.
Yeah, we used to do that stuff for a mushroom company, where we did some fun skits and stuff like that. But we try to do that for a lot of the other companies that we do too. But it's all about having fun while creating content.
Sure.
Even if it's just not for yourself, but for other people, because that's what's going to make it enjoyable.
1,000%.
Which it can be not enjoyable at times. for
Absolutely.
sure. So,
I mean, I'm sure the whole starting out with the camera, I'm sure it hasn't been all unicorns and rainbows since then.
dude, I've learned everything on freaking YouTube, man. Like, that's where I've learned how to do everything. Other than acting, I had to take classes for. But everything content-wise was all learned on, like, YouTube. Because I never went to school for it. And I knew I didn't want to go to school because I hated school. And just from people that I've talked to, they were like, dude, don't go to, like, film school. Don't go to anything in college for it because you can learn everything just by doing it and by just surrounding yourself with content creators who are already doing it.
Well, I think that's a big problem with school, too, though, is you go to school for one thing and then 70% of what you're learning has nothing to do with what you're actually going to be doing.
Dude, it's funny that you say that because the time where I was kind of just like a little bit depressed back in the day when I didn't know what I wanted to do, I got into real estate. And for anybody who is a real estate agent out there, you know that school for real estate teaches you nothing about like selling a home. It's all about like the laws and stuff like that. But it's kind of the same way I feel like with film school. Like they'll teach you certain things like camera settings and stuff. I don't know because I've never been to film school or anything like that. But I've heard that the best thing you could do is just get out there and do it with the people who already know what they're doing.
Exactly.
Instead of sitting in a classroom learning it on pen and paper or on a computer or something like that. You know what I mean?
That's why I personally am a big fan of self-knowledge, YouTube, books, courses. I know that everybody has a course, but when you actually find somebody that
Everybody
knows what they're doing,
yeah.
you have to vest them out. Let's be real.
Oh,
Can't
yeah.
just be this Joe Schmo that DM'd you and said, hey, buy my course. Then you
Yeah.
can be a millionaire in a year.
Dude, it's kind of sucks how many there is of those out there. You know what I'm saying? Just and people eat that up.
Yeah,
Like,
because
I've been a culprit of that. I'm not a culprit, like doing it, but I've bought so many courses that
I
have
know,
not
right?
benefited me at all in content creation because I already knew everything.
dude, I looked up to this guy for so long. And I mean, just in so many different areas. I bought his course and I'm like, are you kidding me?
What was it for? Like podcast stuff? Or was it for something
Speaking,
Oh, just all that?
coaching, just overall. It's like, this is trash. He put together a bunch of his free content and just pieced it together in a course. I was like, this is the crappiest course I've ever paid for. And it was like $2,000.
He's just repurposing all of his content that he already had in the past.
Like, if somebody's paying $2,000, that should be a legendary course.
Oh, yeah.
My only thing is word of mouth, too.
Yeah.
Create things that are good. I mean, we'll obviously talk about this. But if you get one person to tell another person about you, and then they go tell to another person,
Yeah.
it's like after 5 years, you have an audience that's really willing to follow you.
Oh, yeah.
But on the flip side, people are more likely to talk to you about you when they don't like you
Yeah.
than if they love you.
It's kind of sad that way, but at the same time, if you don't have a lot of people talking, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
Yeah.
Two people talking crap about you, then that's a bad thing. I feel
Exactly.
Like. You know what I'm saying? Like, you almost want people to talk crap on you, because if you don't have people are talking crap on you, then you're not doing something right, I guess, right?
You have to
That's
have
what they
both
say.
sides.
Yeah.
You have to have both sides.
Yeah.
But if you're doing things wrong and you're just only having 9 people talking about you and one raving about you, it's not going to do anything for your brand.
Yeah. God, it's unfortunate, man.
It's just the truth. So sounds like your first initial dream in life was baseball then.
Yeah. I'd played since I was like 4 or 5. Pretty much when you could start playing like T-ball and stuff like that, like the very first age. And I played every single year after that up until high school. And then it's kind of embarrassing, but I liked snowboarding too. And I met these girls in one of my high school classes who had never been before, and they wanted me to like take them up and teach them how to do it or whatever. And dude, my mom was like, "Don't do it, man. This is like your senior year tryouts are." Even though I didn't really even have to try out because I'd been on the team for like a couple of years or whatever, but she was like, "Don't do it, man. You're gonna like break your arm, or you're gonna break your neck, or you're gonna break your something." And I went, and I was teaching these girls how to freaking snowboard down the bunny hill, and I was getting frustrated with them. I was like, and then they got tired, and they wanted to go have like I don't know, chicken nuggets or something. And then I was like, all right, I'm just gonna take one last run because they're about to close because we went like night skiing or whatever. And I did, and I hit a chunk of ice right at the very top and just slingshot myself right into the freaking ground. I broke my collarbone. And I was like, oh my God, this sucks. And then I told my coach that, because I worked at Zoomies at the time, I told him, just so he wouldn't get mad at me, I told him that we were like just switching shelves around at Zoomies, and one fell on my collarbone, and I broke my collarbone from the shelf falling on my arm. It's the only thing I could think of. And then I don't know if he believed it or what, but I still made the team. I didn't have to try out. But after that, like, it just went downhill because I was a pitcher, and I'm like, I couldn't throw as hard as I could, and I never was able to after that. But before all that stuff happened, man, I was in my prime. I was like amazing. And I don't want to say that as like being like bragging or something like that, but I would have probably gone to college to play if I didn't break my collarbone.
And beyond, do you see yourself like with your talent level beyond that?
Yes, just because I had worked so hard, and that was like one of the things that I worked so hard at being good at. But I also try to think too, like, because I'm pretty happy with what I'm doing and where I am now. That I've talked to a lot of the people that were on my team who made it to college, and they said that it was a terrible experience. For some reason, I don't know why. I don't know if it just wasn't the same as like the competition level or just like the funness of it. I don't even know if that's a word, but they just said it wasn't fun anymore. And like, that's such a big thing for me in my life now, is like, I have to have fun doing what I'm doing, or at least try to have fun doing what I'm doing to still make that enjoyable. Because content creation at first wasn't really, I didn't think I was going to be doing that as a job.
Sure.
And I was doing it just for fun. But once you turn that like hobby into a job, it slowly starts to become not fun anymore, which kind of gets hard sometimes. That like, I don't know, I'll have some months where I'm just like, oh, this is terrible. And then I'll have some months where it's like, oh my God, I love shooting this stuff. But it's the same thing. You know, it's just a way of like switching it up to making it fun.
Absolutely.
If that makes sense. And I think that was probably the problem with everybody who went to college to play baseball. It just wasn't fun anymore. It seemed kind of more like a job, because it's like, okay, I made it out of high school. Now I'm in college. Now I have to play even better to be able to make it like AAA and then single A and stuff like that, and then get to the major leagues. And half the time, by the time you make it to the major leagues, you're like my age, like 30 years old or whatever.
Sure.
Unless you're like Bryce Harper or something like that. But you know what I'm saying? So I think that was like mainly the reasoning why they didn't like it as much.
So how long did that affect you? Being in a depressive state, not moving forward, sleeping, eating, not doing anything
So I
else?
got out of high school, 18 obviously, and then I got into construction literally right after that. And the only reason I did that was just to make some money.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because you make a good amount of money or whatever for like a 9-to-5 job or something. So it was probably, I was there for like 5-6 years out of high school. So I didn't actually start like acting, which is like kind of what brought me out of that funk. Until I was like, like 24-ish, like around 24. So it'd been like good 6 years or so that I was in like a big funk, and it sucked because I had to like, it was to the point where I, like, nothing was helping me. Like, nothing was helping me, like, cure that anxiety and that depression. I still have it today, but it's just not as severe. But it was to the point where I had to take some sort of medication. And if I didn't, I was going to be in bad shape, and I was going to try to do some stupid stuff or something. You know what I mean? I know that's a very controversial topic, because a lot of people are like, oh, don't take anxiety medication. But I honestly, if I didn't take it and it wasn't there for me, I would be in such a bad place, which is kind of crazy. You know what I mean? But
controversial or not, it helped you.
Yeah, and there's some people who are like, well, you could do other things than like take medication. At least it's just what I hear on like topics when it's talked about. And I'm like, I always think in my head, I go back to my thing, and I'm like, that's not the case for every single person on this planet. And anxiety medication and depression medication isn't like a lifelong thing that you have to be on all the time. But some people need that help, or something worse is going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely.
breath work isn't always going to help for everybody. Taking ayahuasca or going on journeys or whatever isn't always going to help somebody. It can make things worse. But it's like, I feel like that's all you hear about nowadays is like, don't take medication for this kind of stuff. Try these other options instead. Go work out, go do all this stuff. But sometimes it's not going to help anybody. You know what I mean? Sometimes it makes it a little bit worse. And as long as you're not abusing the medication, you're taking it properly, and then you're also like, when you're say, okay, this is working, I don't need it anymore, then you do it in a responsible way of getting off of it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know it's a weird thing to talk about. A lot of people don't talk about like taking anxiety medications and stuff because it's so bad. But if like you need help to that point, or you're going to end up, you know, doing something terrible to yourself, like, don't wean it out as an option because people are telling you, oh, there's other ways to do it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And you said it though. I mean, you're not taking you weren't taking the medication to be on it forever.
No.
You were taking it up so that you can get an upper leg on life.
Yeah, it's just a temporary solution is really all it is.
And look at where you're at now, man.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying is like, some people just need that extra push of, you know, getting out of that dark space. Because sometimes it just lingers. And it's kind of crazy because acting is I use that kind of as a form of therapy too.
Sure.
A lot of people don't realize that acting is like one of the best forms of therapy you could actually be doing. I know a lot of veterans who do it. I know a lot of people who are like in my situation do it. Sometimes it can kind of throw you back into those dark places, but it's all about kind of, it helps, acting really helps you kind of control the emotions maybe that you haven't been able to do before, which is one of the reasons why I love acting so much. And I feel like that's the reason why I am actually good and enjoy it, is because of that situation.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
That's amazing. If you don't mind me asking, and if you don't want to go down here, we don't have to.
Dude, let's go deep down as we can.
Do you, other than baseball, was there anything that added to your depression?
Yes. And I still do. I still actually deal with it worse now, but I have something called EOE. And I didn't know I had that, but basically they said I could have had that for a long, long time. But basically what it is, it's inflammation of your esophagus due to like allergic reactions to things. So it could be like outdoor allergies. It could be food allergies. It could be from a dog. You just don't know until you kind of try to figure it out.
Sure.
But what happens is that causes a lot of scar tissue to build up in your esophagus, which actually makes it tighten. And it got to the point where I felt like I was going to be sick all the time. I thought I was just going to start gagging or throw up, or it just felt terrible. And then it got to the point where I started choking on food because the esophagus, what happens, this is how the doctor explained it, is say you were to swallow a golf ball. Your esophagus, like a normal person's esophagus, would kind of expand to help work the golf ball down into your stomach. If I did it, it wouldn't do that. It would just get stuck in a spot. And so it was just a terrible experience being like feeling like you're going to choke and that you can't swallow correctly. You can't eat correctly. It felt like you were just going to throw up all the time. It's just the most terrible thing, which insanely sparks my anxiety because I have like a weird phobia of that kind of stuff. Like nobody likes to choke on anything.
No.
Like even every time after I ate, every time when I would eat, I would like get in my head and be like, oh God, I hope I don't choke on something. Because there have been instances where I've gone into like restaurants and stuff like that and I would choke. And it's the most embarrassing thing. But that really sparked my anxiety a lot too, just because I didn't feel good, and which made my stomach not feel good. And then I would think about it and then I'd feel like I was going to throw up, and it was just a whole, but I felt like that all the time. Which is weird. And I don't know if that's caused by anxiety. Like, I just don't know. But every once in a while, it still flares up now. It's usually when my, like, allergies and stuff. Because I'm allergic to everything.
That's apparently fair. Sounds like we got a lot in common.
But it's just weird, man. Like, it's just a weird experience to, like, have, you know? Like, worrying about if you're going to die choking on food or something because of your, like, inflamed esophagus. As weird as that sounds, but it's just, I don't know. So that sparked a lot of anxiety too, or that could be caused by the anxiety. I just don't know.
That's fair.
You know what
Sounds
I mean?
like you're on a journey of figuring it out still.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out. Because everything, like, sometimes it'll just flare up, sometimes it won't. Just is what it is. It's just part of the life, my life, I guess.
So now I'm curious. I have a lot of allergies too. Mm-hmm. Fruits, vegetables, the weirdest things.
Dude,
watermelon.
Green bean. Oh, I'm allergic to watermelon too, dude.
I've never met anybody with that.
I'm allergic to the most weird stuff. Green beans, mustard, like watermelon, dogs. I have one, but I'm like, whatever. I'm not gonna get rid of him.
You love them too much.
But
so here's my question: when it happens, because I've never even looked into it. When something gets stuck, it's like a lot of, it sounds really gross, but like bubbly saliva come out.
So every time that I've choked, nobody's saved me. I've just had to do it myself.
Yeah.
Because I've done it. I was alone one time and it happened. But a majority of the time, like my body, not me, will just make myself just reject it, basically, like throw up or whatever.
Okay.
But yes, there was a time at Cafe Rio. I was with my friends. I was eating a nacho. It was a chip. It didn't even have nothing else on it. And I choked on it. And I was freaking out. And I tried to get a thing of water. And it just would not go down. And I was freaking out. And I ran out. And I busted out. And I threw up into like the doorway while people were walking in. The most embarrassing thing that I've probably ever done was that. It's such a like degrading experience having that. Even though people are like, okay, dude, it's totally chill. I would have done the same thing, but it's like not what goes through your head at that time. Like you think you're gonna die, and you feel like you're gonna die in front of these random people who are walking into Cafe Rio. It's just a weird experience to have. But yes, even after things that I eat, I get very. This is kind of weird to talk about, but like you get like you were saying, kind of mucusy in like. Stuff like that. So I have to be like super careful with what I eat because that like makes it harder to go down too. It's weird as hell to say.
Dude, but I might have to go get tested for that because it flares up at times.
Yeah, it's terrible, man. But
here's what I'll say. Try it if you want. I've realized a dramatic decrease in that happening drinking apple cider vinegar.
Really?
Morning and night. Or any time that I try to stay away from sugar as much as possible, but if I know I'm going to be snacking,
dude, sugar's the worst. As I'm drinking a sweet tea. It's crazy.
Drinking just like a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar 10, 15 minutes before I know I'm going to go to a party and be snacking.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I used to take the pills, like the capsules of the apple cider vinegar. That used to give me like heartburn.
Tastes disgusting, don't get me wrong, but just straight, you need to get it with the mother because it's the bacteria and whatnot that really is helping your stomach.
What is
it's called the mother. If it's taken out, it's essentially
it's like the probiotic
that's in it or
whatever
and stuff. Yeah. So just
didn't know that.
Tablespoon apple cider vinegar, water, and then just make sure you have extra water because it tastes like crap.
you gotta take a chaser of the freaking
exactly, bro.
That's crazy.
I love it, man. Well, you're here now, and from afar, you know, you're killing it. You're talented. I appreciate it. I mean, I know your mom's proud of you.
Yeah, she says so every once in a while. But you're talented too, though, man. This is a cool little set. You told me you had how many episodes?
I think you're 129.
129.
Something like that.
That's insane, man. That's like, we'll be catching up with Joe Rogan here soon enough, you know? Even though he's got like thousands and thousands. That's
someday,
cool,
maybe Joe Rogan will be on here. Then I'll know.
That would be crazy.
Then I'll know I made it.
Maybe you'll be on there.
Dude,
you never know.
I'll do it tomorrow if he offered it.
That'd be crazy.
When was the moment where you're like, I am so dark, I need to transform this?
When every day I was weighing the pros and cons of what it'd be like if I wasn't around, basically. And once I started weighing out the pros and cons, like, it's weird. I don't feel like I would ever do something like that to myself. And I know there's some people that feel the same way, but I just wanted to make sure that I wouldn't. So once I got to the point of weighing those pros and cons on whether or not it's going to be better if I was here or better if I am not, I was like, I shouldn't really be thinking about that kind of stuff. And that's where I really was like, okay, I need to have some sort of help, because everything that everybody's been saying, like not taking this medication and stuff like that, is not helping me either.
Sure.
And so I went to just like my normal physician or whatever. And he says, Casey, like, you're doing the right thing. And this isn't like a lifelong thing. You don't have to take these the rest of your life. We don't want you to, because they can get very habit forming and they're very hard to get off of if you were to do something like that. But what we're trying to do is just figure out what's causing this issue. And sometimes to do that, we need to have this medication so that you're a little bit more clear, not necessarily clear of mind, but we just need to figure out what your mind is thinking of, basically. And this medication is going to help you kind of numb some of those things to the point where that thing that you're thinking about all the time is forgotten. Because that's basically what he said the medication was for, is for you to actually kind of numb the thoughts in your head to the point where you're not thinking about that stuff anymore on a daily basis. Because I don't know what it is exactly that makes it linger in somebody's head all the time, but I would still get those like thoughts here and there, but they don't stay like they used to. You know what I'm saying? They would diminish, and they would just be like everybody has a bad day, whatever. You don't have to go like take medication because you have a bad day or anything like that. But once it gets to that consistency of where it's just in your head and that's all you think about all day long, that's where it was like really like the breaking point of where I was like, okay, I need to try something. I need to get this figured out.
I'm glad you did, man.
I did too. And then but it's crazy because that helped in my acting. That helped everything with, not getting anxiety, just going out in public. You know what I'm saying? Because I used to have panic attacks just going out in public. It was crazy. I don't even know what caused it. It could be the throat thing. I don't know. But I'm just glad I got everything kind of figured out and to the point where I'm not really thinking about the pros and cons of that stuff anymore.
Do you still take medication?
No, not anymore.
How long did it take for you to get off of it once you
Honestly, it only takes for me, it takes 8 months to the point where I realize, okay, where it's to the point where you start to forget to take the medication. That was to the point where I was like, okay, I'm good. I don't really need this anymore because I feel great now. Right? And so then after that, you just go back in and he kind of teaches you how to get off the medication, because you can't just not take it anymore. You're going to get withdrawal symptoms and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So he'll go in and he'll just lower the dose and then lower the dose and lower the dose. And eventually you just get off of it and you're just totally fine.
Well done, man.
Yeah,
it's
crazy. I mean, I wish there was different ways of me going about doing it that I didn't have to take medication for it, but it was just something that I felt like I needed to do.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
But I mean, again, look at where you're at now.
That's what I'm saying, is it helped me kind of in my career, because if I kept feeling like that now, I don't even know where I would be today. You know what I mean? I probably wouldn't have the same career. I wouldn't love acting as much. I wouldn't just have the same relationships that I have with people.
You'd be in construction.
Totally. Yeah, I would be totally. I don't even know if I'd be there. I probably wouldn't even be here, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
That's how crazy it was getting.
And you're here.
And I'm here.
Enjoying life.
And I'm glad I'm here. I'm having fun. I'm enjoying life. I wish I'd book a few more acting jobs.
Hey, someday you're going to look back and be like, man, I was on that podcast thinking about, wish I had more
acting jobs. Now I don't want any more.
I don't want any more.
Yeah.
That's the way to go.
Exactly.
I love it, man. Well done. So when you started taking the medication, is that when you started to buy the camera, getting back into acting, or did that take place before or after the medication?
No, so I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure it was happening before I picked up a camera, because I just remember being at work, on the job site during construction, and I would have panic attacks then too, which is not good to have while you're there. And it's kind of crazy to think about, because I don't really know, like I said, I don't really know what was causing them. You know what I mean? I think it was just because I was unhappy and I didn't know if this is what I wanted to do with my whole, entire career or my whole entire life. I didn't know what else I wanted to do. Also, this thing was bugging the hell out of me. And so I just felt lost in the world. And then I knew that I wanted to pick up a camera before all that stuff kind of happened, but I just didn't do it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I don't know if there was just something stopping me, or I didn't think I was going to be good enough or anything like that. But then once I was on the medication, and this medication wasn't like the strongest medication, it was just to kind of help me get through some of those things and trying to help figure myself out a little bit, until I like stumbled across a bunch of YouTube channels and stuff like that, because I was just researching. I'm like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to do Lifelike Pilot, but that's not going to happen if this kind of thing is happening to me. I can't take like medication and stuff while I'm flying a helicopter trying to help somebody. But cooking was a huge thing. I realized that art helped me kind of control myself a little bit.
Sure.
So it was more of just like, once I started doing artistic things, I realized that it was helping kind of like the medication was. So when I say that I know the medication helped a ton, but I wouldn't have figured out that art helped me if I didn't take that. You know what I'm saying? Because I was so stuck in my life that like nothing else was working for me that I was trying. But I had never even thought to use art as like an escape from that kind of stuff until my mind was able to relax and kind of figure out that art was kind of a gateway to get out of that feeling.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So that's where I kind of fell in love with acting right out of when I quit my job with construction, because that's when I started doing acting stuff again. That's when I bought my camera to get onto film sets. And so taking that and helping me kind of get clarity of what I wanted to do was such a huge thing in my life, and I'm so glad I did it, because I'm still happy doing acting stuff. I'm still happy making films. I'm still happy creating content, but I'm just so glad that it happened in that way.
Absolutely.
You know
what I think of, I talk about, purpose is a big deal. You know that.
Yeah.
I know that. And the way I explain it to people is people feel like they have to choose that one right thing, right? We talked about you pivoting with content, and being in different sectors of like e-commerce where you never even thought of that before.
Yeah.
And it's this big mountain. And the cool thing about a mountain is it has thousands of trails up to the top of the mountain, right? And as people, and rightfully so, we want to make the right decision. What trail should we take?
Yeah.
And the cool thing that your story is that step was the medication.
Yeah.
By taking that, you found acting, you found content creation, you found the camera. And up this journey of life, up this mountain, you pivoted.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that the last years of your life was meaningless because it went to waste. No, you took everything with you. You're carrying it up the new trail. And that's what I would love to highlight for these guys listening is it's okay to just start. Even if that's finding something like medication to help you start. But once you start, it's tough to even slow down anymore.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't really suggest that people take medication, but if it's getting to the point where you're like, you've tried everything and nothing is working, and you feel stuck in life and you feel sick to your stomach every single day because you don't know why you're feeling like this and nothing is working for you, from like what all these gurus and everything are telling you to do, like don't take the medication, try the breath work. And I'm not saying none of that stuff works. That works for a lot of people too. But there's some people out there who need the help from medication just to kind of get out of that spot. That, like, I'm not like preaching, oh, go take some anxiety medication because it's awesome and you're going to feel like all clarity and everything's going to come to you. That's not really like what happened. It just made it more tolerable in life.
Absolutely.
If that makes sense. And it, like I said, it's just a temporary solution. You don't want to be on it forever because then you're just going to be numb to everything. It's just to the point where you're realizing not every day you're starting to not think about those things anymore.
Absolutely.
You know, and you're starting to get clarity and you're starting to like really think about like what you're wanting to do. And it's not affecting you to the point where you're having a panic attack, you're throwing up, you're getting sick every day.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But
That's
yeah,
powerful.
it's crazy to think of it like the trail like that, like you said, because I've never heard anybody say it like that. But I feel like there's been so many freaking trails that I've tried to take, and they've always been so damn steep. And
or the snakes or the spiders.
The spiders, dude. Even like little squirrels, man, they freak me out sometimes. Lizards. Yeah, dude.
Man, I can deal with lizards, but not snakes.
Yeah, no snakes for me either.
So you obviously picked up a camera.
Mm-hmm.
What's your journey been like up to this point? I mean, you're obviously working with some of the biggest influencers in Utah. I'm sure that's not necessarily. I'm sure not all of them are the greatest.
But it's stressful, but it's also fun. Because I've got to experience a lot of things. I'll bring up one group, for instance. But Jimmy Rex's We Are the They, the Watt guys. Mm-hmm. I've had a lot of amazing experiences just on that trip. Even if I don't agree with everything that kind of like everything going on, like I said, the breath work and all that kind of stuff, it's still been one of the most eye-opening like experiences that I've ever had to do, because I found myself in places that I would have never gone to if it wasn't for content creation, if it wasn't for finding the right like client or group to create content for. So that's one of the coolest things about being a content creator, is just all the experiences that you get to have. Because it's like a lot of people will watch somebody's stuff on social media and they'll think they're like the coolest person ever, and they're going on all these crazy trips. Well, the content guy has to go on those crazy trips to create that content for those people. So that's been like a big thing for me. And it's gotten me out of my comfort zone a lot, because I'm afraid of airplanes. I freaking hate airplanes. And being able to experience those things have kind of opened up different things for me, as far as like, I guess, getting over phobias and getting out of like social anxiety and getting out of all these different things. You kind of have to put yourself in those situations sometimes.
Absolutely.
But I mean, there's other things, like I get to be creative with a majority of the stuff that I get to do. It's not always easy. It's super stressful and hard sometimes. Sometimes people don't like to pay, even though you have an agreement with them. So it's just a big journey.
That's
you know
fair.
what I'm saying? It's all just learning experiences every day. I'm still learning every day from it.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about the the people that I was like, how's your day? Oh, same old, same old. It's like, it's never that for you.
Yeah. It's always busy. Like all the time. I'm always behind usually on something just because I'm so busy now, but that's a good thing. That's a good problem to have.
Absolutely.
You know? But yeah, my day is never just same old, same old. It's always different every single day, which is nice.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You know?
So, I mean, we're talking about, content, and obviously you found voiceover, you found all these variable things in acting, content creation, and you kill it. By the way, everybody got to go listen to your stuff. Like, he really does.
If you want, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
With that, how does one begin to build one authentic content, but also how do they begin to build content that connects to an audience, to where they start to build an audience that's willing to follow them?
The biggest thing that I would always tell people is like, try not to cater it to like going viral. Don't try to go viral, because you're probably never going to if you do it that way. Unless you're like super analytical like Mr. Beast. But even to like get to that point, like you're going to stress yourself out and you're going to burn out doing it, and you're not going to have fun doing it, so then you're going to stop. Like you said, like most podcasts, like people are like, oh, this will be easy, this will be fun. They quit after the third one. I was one of the people that did that. Like I quit after the third episode. Maybe it was like 4 episodes or something like that.
Hey, you beat the statistic.
Yeah, but I would just create content that you enjoy doing. I know that people have probably heard that a lot, but it works. Like it's because you'll have fun doing it. Try not to think about how people are going to react when they see your content. Just do it because you like doing it, and it'll be entertaining. You might have to do it a few times or whatever, which is fine. Like one of my videos just went, I guess, quote unquote, viral. And I pinned it on my profile, but it's basically me doing product photography, doing like putting chilies in the air, like that around a hot sauce bottle. But it got over like 700,000 views or something, and like 33,000 likes or something, just randomly, right? But I didn't really try to make that video. I was just doing that for like 2 hours, trying to get these chilies in the right position the whole time. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to film this, because people probably don't really realize what it's like to do product photography. They probably think, oh, they just set up this stuff and they Photoshop everything. That's not always the case. And that resonated with a ton of photographers out there. So it's just about kind of doing the thing that you're good at and that you love doing and showcasing your skills to people.
And showing how big of a pain it is. The truth behind the scenes.
It just has to resonate with an audience. I feel like that's the best way to do it, and that's the best way to get like actual authentic following and results for creating content for yourself.
Sure. So how do you, I mean, there's so many different types of businesses out there, so many different types of people that are thinking. I mean, we have coaches out here. We have people that own merchandise companies, salsa companies. I mean, there's so many variables. I know there's somebody out there thinking like, well, how do I do that with my business? What's a creative process that they could follow to really start to determine how to build that authentic content?
Well, there's no such thing as originality these days, I don't feel like anymore. So it's all about just taking an idea that you've seen and kind of making it your own. And that's going to take a lot of trial and error too. You're not going to get it overnight. But as far as doing something like that for their company, that's all part of building a brand. You know what I'm saying? And the first thing to brand building, in my opinion, is content. If you don't have any content, your brand doesn't exist ever. That's how it is with all of my clients. And what's great is I've been able to find clients who don't really create content, but they already have a strong brand because of a video blew up and they have sales like crazy, to be able to use that to help their business grow. If that makes it, it's cool to be able to have my skills to help a business grow. Like that's what I enjoy about content creation, is being that little tiny part to somebody's big success, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
But as far as like say your question again.
Well, I think you essentially highlighted it, but what's a process that somebody thinking like, well, how can I do that from my business? Mm-hmm. What's a process that they could take to determine authentic content?
I would honestly just take some ideas and kind of make it your own. Yeah. So that'll take going through TikTok or Instagram or something like that. But a lot of times that's actually sparked up a lot of my ideas, because I had never thought to do voiceover stuff ever until I saw, I can't even remember who it was that did it, but they had a huge following. They had a ton of people watching their stuff, and it was all in Spanish. It was all like dubbed over. I think that's what it was. They were dubbing over these characters in, you know how like Disney will dub their actors like over Spanish or over like Russian or German or something like that. I saw some guy doing it who was professional at doing it, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna freaking do that, but in English, just mute the character's voice and see if I sound cool or not. And if I don't, it's whatever, but it was a fun experience because I got to learn some new skills with syncing my voice to somebody else's voice type of thing. So it's like, that wasn't my idea, but I took that idea and I kind of made it my own.
It's one of my favorite things that you've done personally.
And it's like the cucumber guy. We were talking about it. The dude who makes cucumber salads on TikTok and Instagram. Everybody's doing it, but they're doing it in their own unique way. And they're still getting the views and they're still getting all these different things. So it's all about just kind of not stealing an idea. You don't want to do that, but it's just taking an idea that works and kind of putting your own twist on it, your own creativity. Because once you start doing that and you're starting to be creative with doing that, other things are going to start coming to you that nobody has thought of yet.
Sure.
Because your creative mind is going to be working differently than what it was before.
And it's funny that you highlight this, and I actually haven't talked much about this story, but I started in personal development when I was 16. Mm-hmm. So and I was a little bit before 16 when I started becoming interested in it.
Yeah.
But at that point when I started to transform my life from drugs, alcohol, you name it. And I'm 25 now. I mean, I'm still fairly young, but I didn't create my own personal methodology on how to truly help people up until 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It took a long time of me reading books, doing courses.
Which is still taking somebody's idea.
Exactly.
Not taking it, but like using their idea to help in your life.
Exactly. I took everything that I learned to create my own, but it had to come from somewhere.
Exactly.
It had to.
Yeah.
There's things that I'd read a book and I would be able to determine I disagree with this. I agree with this.
Yeah.
I took a course. Some of them I just threw out of the trash. Let's be real. We talked about that.
I get it.
That was a waste of money.
Dude, there's so many of those content ones out there too that do that same thing.
And at some point I created my own. But when I started content, it was like, I really like this guy. So I would watch a video, and then the question I'd ask, how can I make that my own? So I love that you highlighted it, because the truth is that's how I started creating my own brand.
Yeah. And the thing is like, people just have to be really careful about stealing the idea, because people are going to know. Like, if you start stealing ideas and they're all the same as all these other big people, it just comes off very unauthentic. Is that a word? Inauthentic? Inauthentic. So that's just the main thing you have to be really careful about. Like, bring your own personality. Like, especially if you're just talking into camera, bring up your own personality. Don't try to be like that person that you just saw in that video doing that thing. That's the biggest thing, because that comes off fake to a ton of people when you're very inauthentic with, like, just the way you're saying things or the way you're doing things on camera.
And to highlight that, you're going to know.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
You're going to know you're stealing the ideas.
Yeah.
You're going to feel like a fraud, quite frankly.
Ashamed sometimes, but sometimes people don't, though. Some people are like, oh, well, this is where I'm just going to do this because it's easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no thought process to it. But the unfortunate thing is, like, there is a thought process to everything. Even if it's like the most simple piece of content, there's a thought process that goes into it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just don't be fake. That's like the biggest thing I can say, because it's going to come across on camera so easy.
And the one thing that I'll call out about I'm like you, I still have a long journey ahead of me, which is exciting.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
I'm excited for it. So you were into, like, before you were 16, you were into, like, you got into drugs and everything like that?
Yeah, so this is my journey. I'll share a little snippet.
Yeah,
and honestly, this is why I love what I do.
Mm-hmm.
What I tell people is I was born into the perfect family from a child's eyes, right? My mom and dad were together. I had an older brother that was is phenomenal. We had a 3-story house, basketball court in the back, went on vacations, played sports, did everything that anybody truthfully dreams of as a kid, right? And then obviously my sister came along that's younger than me, and she's awesome. And then one day, but later 6th grade, my mom and dad called us downstairs, and me and your father are getting a divorce. This created 3 main limiting beliefs for me. Love's not real. Had to get over that one because I have a wife.
Yeah, that's a huge one, dude.
You never know what's real or what's fake, because for me, this life was perfect. Now we're just going to tear this down to the ground. Like, what the hell? And the last, I can only rely on myself. That one really motivated me, truthfully, for a lot of my success. But I was like, if all of these guys that love me are going to lie to me, then who the hell can I trust?
Yeah.
And so going into 7th grade, I immediately got involved with drugs and alcohol. Fast forward, middle of 8th grade, I saw people in my circle commit suicide, go to jail, prison, juvie. Really was an eye-awakening moment for me, because it's like, do I want what's possible, or do I want this? And when I started to see that, before I got into 9th grade, thankfully, I had a voice in the back of my head when I was super high and drunk. Said, go to the bathroom. Go to the bathroom, and most people say, well, it's because you're on drugs. Well, maybe, or maybe it was something else, right?
Yeah.
I shut the door, light comes over me, and I'm immediately sober, and I hear the voice. Either you will die before you graduate high school, or you will transform and make an impact.
Wow.
So I walk out of the room, nothing changes except my emotions get worse, because I feel like I'm capable of being more, but I'm not being more.
Yeah.
And the last day in 9th grade, I hear a similar voice. This is your last day to change. So I leave that day from school, and I connect anything possible leading me back to drugs and alcohol and that life. And that's the first summer I picked up books, started to transform my life.
Wow.
Fast forward now.
See, that's even hard to do too. Like, people can't just like up and just stop like that unless they have something like pretty drastic like that happen.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Wow.
So it's the way to go.
Yeah.
And that's what I really come down to, is a lot of what we're doing in content, in business, in personal, right? If you're just winning in your personal life, but not in relationships, not in finances, you're losing. If you're just winning in relationships, but you hate yourself and you're sucking at your career and business, you're not winning.
Yeah.
A lot of this honestly comes down to your choices, and that's it. Like, I have this podcast is called Journey to Authenticity, and there is a journey to that, but it also is a simple choice. You know whether you're lying to yourself or not. You know whether you're building or authentic content or not. You know whether you're stealing somebody's idea or not.
Yeah.
So stop lying to yourself. It's really that easy.
Yeah.
Like, keep your word to yourself and others. Do your best always, and just consistently grow.
Yeah.
This podcast we still have a long journey ahead of us. I think that's where we were getting at. We have a long journey ahead of us. Just consistently get better.
Yeah.
Mr. Beast quoted, we talked about this either before the podcast or during. You can't expect any audience. You can't expect any money until you've made at least 100 episodes. Then you can start to anticipate that.
Yeah. Well, even with him, he takes just little bits and like tries to make the video better every single time. You know what I mean? Which is huge. I feel the same way with the way everybody does their content. Like, try to make your video better every single time, because you'll get a sense of who you are without being fake.
Exactly.
So don't be fake. There's so many of those influencers. We were just talking about this. But there's a ton of influencers that people watch online that are not anything that they do on social media in real life. They are just a totally opposite person.
There is...
It's like the saying, like, don't meet your hero, basically, because you're just going to be disappointed.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
They're all people.
I know.
Through my marketing, I used to do marketing as well.
Yeah.
Through the podcast, I have podcasts that I didn't post. Some of these big guys are a bunch of shit.
It's kind of disappointing, like, realizing that people like follow these guys and really look up to the people that they see on social media, just to come to find out once they meet them that they're terrible people. It's super sad, because then, like, people who make the content like that don't realize that these people look up to them, and then once they meet you and you're not anything like how you are on social media, they get bummed about themselves because they like fell for your stupid lies and they couldn't see it earlier, type of thing. Like, I've met people who are like that, who are like, I couldn't believe that so-and-so was like this. I'm kind of bummed. It kind of like bums me out. And then they're just kind of down. You know what I mean? It's a terrible kind of thing to see.
Well, the way I look at it is they're almost that North Star for some people, right? If only I could be this type of person or have this relationship or have this business, then I'll have made it.
Yeah.
But then they meet them and that North Star is no longer there. So it's like, well, what now?
Well, they have nothing to look forward to anymore, in a way. Like, people don't realize that too. Content is like a way to escape for some people. And that's why I find joy in movies and in creating content, like acting related or doing the voiceover stuff, is not only do I get to escape reality sometimes, like, when people watch this stuff, they get to escape reality too.
Absolutely.
Especially, and that was one of the things that really kind of sparked my acting thing, is that when I was going through those dark times, what I would turn to is movies a lot of the time. Like Superbad, like all the raunchy early 2000s comedies, dude. Those were my favorite. Like Superbad, 40-Year-Old Virgin, all that kind of stuff. Those are still like my favorite movies to watch and to try to make in today's day and age. But it was a way of me to escape reality for a little while, to kind of laugh or like think of these situations like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, why would they do this? You know what I'm saying? Or whatever else. But acting was the same way for me too, because I got to escape a little bit from my reality by playing this other person. But I feel like that's what people who are watching like your content are doing, the exact same thing. They're just kind of escaping their reality. Or maybe they have a dead-end job that they hate so bad, but what they look forward to is coming home and watching your podcast or my voiceovers or homeboy, you know, yelling at the camera at you saying you're a piece of garbage or something. You know what I'm saying? Like all those, you know, the certain influencers and stuff like that. Like, they like that stuff. Like that's what.
Get a six pack or you're not good enough.
Yeah, exactly. And they're just like, I'm going to go to the gym. You know, like you're inspiring these people to do stuff. But then when they see you in person, it's just a totally different experience because they've looked up for you their whole life that they've known you. And then they just lose hope in themselves once they realize that, hey, you know, I can't escape reality anymore and get motivated to go to the gym because I met the dude who wants me to have a six pack and he's kind of an asshole. You know? So it's just like one of those situations, but it happens with everybody.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Everybody's watching your content to either be entertained or to learn something or just to escape reality. And if you're not real doing any of that stuff, it's just not going to click with people and they're not going to understand.
You know, what we're talking about was a rude awakening for me. Because as a coach, right, I was looking, the reason I'm a coach is because I was in a really hard place like we talked about. I was inspired to transform. Well, I had the resources around me, mom, parents, siblings, people that would have been there for me.
Yeah, the people.
I didn't feel okay to go tell them all the shit that I was doing, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So where did I go to? I went online. I went to books. And after I had all of this growth and I started to, which by the way is also a blessing, I started to be able to be in a position to meet these guys. It's like, dang, really?
Yeah, exactly.
You?
You're like, I can't wait for this retreat to meet this guy or these people. Yeah, it's...
For me, thankfully, I had a positive attitude. Well, if this guy can make it, I sure as hell can, because I am not going to allow anything to stop me from being me.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that I was at that point of confidence, because then this is, again, journey to authenticity. Quite frankly, the way that you grow in life, the way you grow your content is very similar. You have to look outwards to then bring it inwards.
Exactly.
I was at that point that I was already looking inwards when I already started to see this crap of this influencer game. But that was just the turning point that I listen to my podcast now. Now that sounds so like
I watch
crazy.
the movies that I'm in.
I listen to my advice. At the point that you start to begin to look inward is the moment that it becomes a when you will make it, not an if.
Yeah.
When you stop relying on external resources to fuel your emotion, per se.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy you say that because in the film industry, it's the same way. Like you see these people in the movies, but then you meet them in real life and they're just a totally different person. I'm not going to say which movies or anything that I've been on or whatever, but I've been on some pretty, not to brag or anything, but I've been on some pretty decent sized sets like Warner Brothers, CBS type stuff. And the actors and stuff, the people that people know, they are very different in real life. The Warner Brothers I was on was the greatest experience ever.
Can you not drop it?
Well, the Warner Brothers one was Horizon.
Okay.
An American Saga or whatever. I'm in the second chapter of it. But Kevin Costner was the coolest dude ever. And he's the director of it and everything like that. But all the actors, dude, they were so freaking like positive and like just happy to be there, even though it sucked because we were usually in movies it's not luxurious at all because you're up at 3 a.m. doing a scene 10, 12, 15 times. It took us like 4 to 6 hours to do just our one scene that's going to be like a minute and a half in the movie. But it was just such an amazing experience because of Kevin and because of the entire crew and everything like that. It was such a joy to work around. But there were some, not on this set, but other sets where like nobody wanted to talk to each other, which is fine. Actors are a little bit different sometimes in their head or whatever, trying to like memorize lines and stuff like that. It's totally fine. But even just between takes, like one of the actors was just looking at his phone. This is on a different set, not the Warner Brothers one. This is on a different one. He was just looking at his phone, like scrolling through Instagram. I just try to have kind of like a friendly conversation with him. Like, I'm kind of jealous they give you a big house out here or something, whatever, to live out here during the time that you're filming. He's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. And I'm just trying to be super friendly with him. He just was not wanting to talk to me. And he was in the scene with me. Like, me and him were talking in the scene. That's what our scene was about. And, like, he just didn't want to have a conversation with me. I don't know if it was just because of I was just kind of I'm just a nobody on that set, just like a day player role, and he's like the lead of it or what. But it was kind of like mean, it was still a cool experience. Everybody else was really nice, but that's like somebody that he's a very well-known actor that people probably look up to. And it was just kind of a bummer because I was super looking forward to meet him and like be in a scene with him. And I'm sure he's a great guy or whatever, but he just, I don't know, he didn't really want to, you know what I mean? It's kind of, he didn't really want to, I don't even know how to explain it.
Yes, I get.
He wasn't a very positive person to be around. But
And
I get it with actors too. Some actors are different. Some people like to like be in the scene or whatever. This was such an easy scene. He only had like 2 lines. And he didn't know them because I had to tell him. At one point in the scene, it was kind of a weird, crazy, humbling experience. But it was just like one of those moments where I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of a bummer. But it was still a cool experience because it was such a big set or whatever. But that's like, it's just crazy that we are starting to talk about this because it didn't really make me think about that until now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And the cool thing is I know that someday when you make it, right? I would say
Hopefully,
I would say that
that's my
you've
goal.
made it. You just have, I would say I honestly look up to you. You've made it. You've
The
put your
right
dreams
people
in
just
there.
haven't seen it yet.
Yes.
That's what
exactly.
it is. Yeah.
The truth is, I know that someday I already know people look up to you. That's just the reality. And I already know you're making that impact. And I know someday you're going to be on set with somebody. They're going to have a conversation with you. And because you know how that made you feel and you know who you are, you're going to make that kid feel amazing, like a baller. And you're going to, it's going to be the best time for that kid.
Yeah.
A core memory.
Well, I could tell if somebody ever comes up to me excited, if I ever get to that point, dude, I'm going to make sure that they're happy with who they meet.
Yeah.
I try to do that in most places, but a lot of times I do have social anxiety still. So sometimes it does look like I'm like angry and I don't want to be somewhere, but it's more of I'm just having a little anxiety moment with social anxiety is basically all it is.
That's fair.
But a lot of people have told me like, you don't look happy to be here. And I'm like, I'm totally happy to be here. I'm just kind of introverted. You know what I'm saying? But whenever somebody comes up and talks to me, like it's a total shift. Like I'm super nice to everybody. At least I hope so. I hope so.
Well, nevertheless, man, I'm proud of you. Thanks
Appreciate it. I'm proud of you too, man. I just met you today, but like everything you've told me so far about how your journey and how you've come to this point and like how many episodes you've had, how consistent you guys are is like absolutely incredible.
I appreciate that,
Yeah.
man. It's a journey, right?
It is.
So a couple quick off the bat questions. First and foremost is, what is your definition of an authentic life?
Oh, man, you're getting deep. I'm not like a super motivational person either. A super authentic life to me is just being happy. Because if you're not happy with doing anything that you're doing in your life, then it's probably not what you're going to want to, it's probably not what you're wanting to do. As far as just the way that you're living, the people you're meeting, the way you're acting, or anything like that. Like the biggest thing is just to try to be as happy as you can and have fun.
Love it.
That's probably not the most motivational thing to say or whatever, but once you realize you're having fun in life and that you're doing the things that you want to be doing, you're just going to be in a lot better of a place.
Amen to that, man. Amen. And if there was one last thing that you could leave behind for these young entrepreneurs out here in the world, looking to be the best version of themselves and achieve the success that they're looking for, achieve their dreams, what would that be?
Just do everything that you can to try to pursue them. And don't let your mind get in the way of saying that you're not good enough to do it or that I don't have any of the skills to do it. There's a lot of platforms out there, like my license plate on my car says YT University for YouTube University, because I truly feel that the right people, the right content that you look at is going to determine whether or not you're successful in the business, or the right people that you meet. You know what I'm saying? It kind of goes both ways. I'm never going to meet any of the people that I watch on YouTube because I don't want to, because of the thing that we talked about, because I still watch their stuff every day. But I'm also don't want to meet the people just in case they turn out to be like the people that we were talking about. You know what I mean?
Amen to that.
Yeah. But just don't be afraid to get out there. Even if you don't have any skills, like you're going to learn that over time. Like I was a terrible content creator when I was, 7 years ago or whenever I started doing it. And now I'm still not amazing at it, but I'm learning quicker now than I did back then.
Have you, Just as a side note, have you heard Ed Sheeran's voice? But when he started,
Yeah, or even just Post Malone.
dog crap.
All of them, dude. Yeah,
Plug your ears.
I know.
Now there's some of the most talented people out there.
Well, what's crazy is even like the YouTubers and stuff that I used to watch for like helping me with my content creation. When I first started watching them, I thought it was amazing, but I look back at it now and it was terrible
Isn't it crazy?
compared to now. So it's like you're almost growing with those people. It's kind of crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that you called that out.
Yeah.
With that in mind, what can me and my audience be doing to support you?
It's more, I like to think of it more as like, how can I be like supporting you guys? Because I love making people laugh. And I feel like if I can make you laugh, that would be supportive enough because you would probably follow my Instagram and like watch all my content and stuff like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, just go scroll on his Instagram for a minute and you'll be sold to follow him. So.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, but like that's my number one goal. That's why I like comedy so much, is like if I can make people laugh and escape reality, that's my like goal. And if I can help them do that, then they'll help me somehow, one way or another.
Absolutely.
You know?
See you in your future lead role in a movie.
I appreciate it. That's the goal. So.
Absolutely. That in mind, thank you so much for coming on, man.
I appreciate
Seriously.
you having me on. This was really cool.
Thank you so much for listening to the Journey to Authenticity podcast. If you liked what both myself and Casey had to add today, be sure to subscribe and leave a review, as this helps to ensure to get the most interesting qualified guests to support you through your transformation. Also, while I have you here, if you are in a position of struggling with thoughts, emotions, if you're ready to transform your life, be sure to go to the link below or my website, and let's begin your coaching journey together to help me transform your life. Have a good day, everybody.